You are listening to Wedding and Event Insider. I'm Elizabeth Sherry, Director of Special Events. Today, I have the pleasure to interview a solo entrepreneur who helps companies discover their why.
You know, when you're first starting out, my biggest piece of advice is to really try to take the time to ask why.
I'm thrilled to introduce Paul M., owner of Slingshot Branding PR, LLC.
Things people may not know, but I come from a very creative background. My early days, after high school and all that kind of stuff, I worked in the creative industry. I've done a lot of acting, a lot of performing, a lot of photography. Fun facts. I don't know if anybody knows these types of things, but all of that translates into the entrepreneur, solopreneur that I am today with Slingshot. Slingshot Branding PR is my company, and I work with a lot of fellow individuals and small businesses, and really work to, I'm going to use a video game analogy, but really kind of level them up, bring in, a lot of things with a brand identity, which is how you look, brand strategy, which is why are we making you look that way, or, just different things like that. So, really to level people up, level up their game. And I use that level up thing, and I know it sounds kind of vague, but why I kind of use that is, each company, each individual person, they're a little bit unique, and what each person needs is slightly different. So a lot of the things that I do with companies and with individuals, it's very much tailored to them, because everybody's brand is different, and their solutions to what they're looking for isn't always exactly like a cookie cutter. And I think most people will understand what that is, but and I really, really am passionate about, I love marketing, but I really am passionate about branding, because it takes, it's very closely related to marketing, but it really pushes beyond sort of the day-to-day of marketing and communications. And it really can dive literally down to the heart of what drives individuals and companies, and why they exist, and how they can impact people in such a positive way. And that excites me. It makes me just invigorated. And I think that's something that I hope to communicate and have with Slingshot too, is to really get people excited and motivated and want to level up and do the best game that they possibly can.
And I've seen you live in action with that type of stuff, and you ask us the hard questions, which ironically, the hard question is always why.
Yes.
Why are you doing that? Well, that's a hard question. Well, why are you doing that? And it's a question that, as business owners, we refuse to ask ourselves. Why am I doing this? So I really appreciate folks like yourself, and of course you and your talents, to ask us the hard question of why. So Paul, as you mentioned earlier, you're an entrepreneur. Can you give us any advice about starting your own company and going out on your own? Anything you learned along the way?
Yes, absolutely. I say this, and I know I've even reviewed some of my own stuff. It's so funny because when you're first starting out, my biggest piece of advice is to really try to take the time to ask why. I know that it sounds really repetitive, but I know a lot of companies have already started in their maybe in their 5th, 15th, wonderful years of being in business. But even at that point, asking why. And when I say that, I'm actually generally referring to your brand purpose, which is a very specific thing. And it goes beyond, I think the obvious answer that I hear all the time is why? And most people are like, well, to make money. And I'm like, no, that's not your brand purpose. That can't be your brand purpose. That's a given. Why you make, you're making, you're running this to make money. Cool. So is every other, Tom, Dick, and Harry in the world. That's why, but it goes much, much, much deeper than that. And it's exciting when you can really start wrapping your brain around that why, because it has such a direct impact on the people and your customers and even you. And that excites me. So that's one thing that I would say when if you have the presence of mind, so to speak, to think beyond, I'm going to make $1 billion or something. When you're first starting out, it's really hard not to be like, I have the $1 million idea. I'm going to go and do it. And, it's hard to be like, wait, slow down. Let's actually ask some of these questions that will actually mold and shape the direction that our company walks in, especially if you're successful. Answering that underlying question of why does this company's heartbeat it's exciting.
Hi, everybody. This is Matt Sherry with Complete Wedding and Events Minneapolis. We do events. We do photography, videography, DJ, photo booth, lighting, day of coordination. At Complete Wedding and Events, we capture, we create, we do. If you're having an event, check us out today, completewedo.com/Minneapolis.
I love that we're carrying a theme of why throughout this. So maybe in your discovery of whys with other clients, have you found a success story that you can share with us, or have heard some from your clients of how you've helped them grow?
Well, I have kind of a go-to one, and I did share this when I spoke specifically at our live event for Twin Cities Wedding Event Professionals, and people can actually go and listen to this online. So go and check it out, people, if you're if you're curious. But my go-to is I have a client that I have worked with. I used to actually work at a flower shop, and this was a little bit predating, Slingshot in particular, but I was started working on their website and just different things like that. And, their communication strategy was one of just marketing that they're this, very luxurious European style flower shop. And I, after working with them for a while and just really thinking about it and talking to the owner and things like that, I was just like, you're not who you're presenting yourself to be. And just shifting that somewhat, and then hearing the customer feedback after doing so, it was amazing. And it was interesting because they're presenting themselves as this really high-end floral shop when in actuality they're very approachable, very blunt, very almost rude. Actually, they were very rude to some customers. And yeah, listen to that presentation if you want to hear that story. It's funny, but so it was a very successful sort of retooling their communication strategy, but underlying that, getting to their purpose, from talking to the owner and just really getting to know her, she was able to uncover, it was the heart of why she's doing what she's doing is because she actually really wants to help people that are wanting to celebrate people when they die. So she really moved into the funeral aspect of her business, and she's thrived in that. And it was just exciting to work with her and really uncover, it's like, oh my gosh, she's passionate about celebrating people's lives and really, really finding that. It was an exciting moment for her, and it so echoes her purpose, because even in her life I can see it. She's this really generous business owner, and I can tell it's not work for her when she goes in and she's meeting with people and she's talking about, their loved ones that have passed. It was exciting. So that, I guess that would be one success story. Hopefully people understand what I'm getting at when I'm sharing that. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I love that story. I was there when you were able to give it its full details. So yes, tune into that from a couple months ago, and we have it on our website at tcwp.com to hear the full story, but I do love it. She sounds like such a character, so I actually might want to go back and listen to it again. So Paul, I'd like to finish off this podcast with just getting to know you a little bit better with something a little bit more lighthearted. So I have some would you rather questions for you. Are you feeling ready for these?
I am feeling excited, and also sometimes I'm like, oh my gosh, the first thing that pops into your head is what you should spit it out. So I'm excited.
Perfect. And then if you have a why behind them, again, with that why, we'd love to hear
Sounds
it.
Good. All right.
So first one, would you rather lose your sight or lose your hearing?
I think I would go with hearing, and the why behind it is actually because I've studied sign language a little bit.
Oh, well, there you go. See, that's an easy one. So Paul, would you rather have a constant supply of the best coffee in the world at your office, or a constant supply of the best snacks in the world at your office?
Best snacks in the world, because I actually don't drink coffee.
I did not know that about you. Oh goodness. You know what? I totally understand, but there's nothing to me like a good cup of coffee in the morning. So
Elizabeth, when I drink coffee, literally people are like, what's wrong with you? And I'm like, I'm really trying to sit still.
I'm doing my best.
Yeah.
Great. All right. So the next one, would you rather work an extra hour, but get an hour break time in between, or work all the way through with no breaks and get done an hour earlier?
Oh my gosh. Gosh, it really would depend on the day. Let's go with the latter one. Let's power through and get it done.
You know, and I mean, entrepreneurs are probably like, what's a break? So
yeah.
I would imagine you're like, let's just get all the work done, no stopping.
Because in my head, it's sort of that why. It's like, if I'm all done, then can't I just go and be free and be done? And I don't know.
Yeah. Well, and now this last one I have for you is very relevant to your job. So curious to what your answer is, but would you rather have a job where you don't write at all, or a job where you have to write all the time?
I would pick the latter. I want a job where I write all the time because I do that.
Exactly. I've seen your writing. I figured it would be the latter, but it would have been so surprising if you went with the first. Thank you to my special guest today, Paul, owner of Slingshot Branding and PR. For more information on Paul, please visit his website at slingshot.work. If you're interested in more content like this Insider podcast, please subscribe to our newsletter at tcwep.com. I'm Elizabeth Sherry, and thank you for listening to Wedding and Event Insider.